Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Blues. City Dave here. I'm here with Amy and Dan. It's been a little while since we did a little podcast, but we've got a lot to catch up on, guys. I wrote a little memo, didn't I, to us a couple of days ago. We've got the Hammers review. We've got the Aston Villa review. We've got the Bernardo special, which we could talk about for an hour. We've got injury updates, which I've got good news today about that. We've got any truth in the Torres rumours. And we've got number 6, we've got the Watford preview as well. So we've got a lot to go through today. So Amy, Hammers, you were there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how did it go? How did we play? Thoughts?
I think we probably should have put them to bed a bit sooner because we hit the bar and the post. So it should have been finished. It should never have got as close as it did, I don't think. But I feel like West Ham get a little bit too much credit because obviously they're overachieving massively and they're doing brilliantly. But in terms of the way they play, I expected them to come at us a lot more than they did. And they just sat back and played on the counter attack, which I didn't expect them to do. I thought they were going to actually give it a good go. But I think, we deserve to win and probably should have won by a lot more than.
Which is funny, isn't it? Because whenever any team does come at us a little bit, they tend to get a little bit of joy. So I still don't understand these experienced managers like Moyes who comes and goes, no, let's just set our stall out and catch them on the counter. How did, I'm a massive fan of Rice. I think if he was available, I know we've got Gundogan and Rodri and whoever, I would have him at City in a heartbeat. How did he play for you, Amy, in that game?
He just controls their entire midfield, I think, and he's just, he is the one that makes the link from the defence to the attack. And he went on, I think, quite late on a run on his own, and he pulled off a pretty good effort. But then when he got a bit of chat from the City fans, and he picked up some snow and threw it back at them. That made me laugh. But no, I think he's brilliant, and I would definitely have him at City any day of the week.
In a heartbeat. Dan, what do you think about Hammers? Anything to add?
It was a game where it could easily go either way, couldn't it? I mean, the weather conditions didn't exactly to help. It seemed a bit white for some reason. I'm not 100% sure why, but credit to the groundsman, by the way. I think they deserve a massive applause. I know Pep did say something, but to get the game up and running, clear the pitch, which allowed us to play a bit more flair in the second half. But, we were at home. It should have been a routine win, and it ended up being a routine win. 3 points, that's the major thing. But to go to Rice, I don't know if he'd fit in City, personally. He's an all-round midfielder, isn't he? You could say I'm talking absolute dribble, the fact that he is the all-round midfielder, but does he play a Pep way? He's a midfielder that likes to pick up the ball and charge forward. Might do, but it remains to be seen. I'd like to see him in a bigger club because I think he deserves it. But we'll see. Then again, I said the same thing about Gundogan. Look how that turned out. I've been made to eat my words on that one. So,
and look at to your point, Dan. Look at him now. I was never his biggest fan, but I just think he makes the team tick now. And, I was watching Match of the Day a couple of nights ago, and Shearer was waxing lyrical about Gundogan as well, about how good he is. And just, for me, he's just become that such important link now for the midfield and for the defence and for the forwards. And I know he's not getting any younger, Gundogan, and I'm not saying get rid of him, but for me, he would be, Rice would be the perfect replacement for Gundogan. So if Hammers could maybe keep him for another year to 2 years, Gundogan then goes back to Germany or goes to Turkey to finish his career. It's not going to happen, but that's who I see him replacing. That someone next to Rodri. Rodri stays in his position, and Rice or Gundogan, whoever, is the one who is making those forward runs.
To be fair, it's not a bad shout, actually, because at the same time, someone's going to have to replace Fernandinho. So you might as well go for a young, Premier League proven top Englishman on top of that. Good point. I can't argue with that. I think you put me over with that one, Dave.
I just don't want Rice going anywhere else because he's going to strengthen any team. You put him in, Henderson's not getting any younger at Liverpool. Could go there. Chelsea, top of the league right now. I think he's going to end up at Chelsea personally, but I would love him at City. And I think Pep would do wonders for him. But, all right. Anyway, a lot to get through. Aston Villa. Dan Halifax took his kids to a first away game, right? We've got the image on our Facebook.
Full credit to the away support. They sang their hearts out that night. I haven't heard us that loud in a long time. To be fair, it'd probably just be Halifax and his kids that were doing all the shouting. You know what they're like.
I would have thought so, yeah. So did you both watch the game?
Yeah. Okay,
so Dan, how did it go for you? I thought first half we were mesmeric.
That was City of old. Just not routine, but routine in City's way. Passing play was great. I mean, that goal from Ruben Diaz, he meant that. That was a peach of a goal. And I know we're going to highlight Bernardo's later on its own, so I won't include this in mine. But it's just a shame we were a little bit switched off in the opening of the second half. It was a great goal, I have to admit. Watkins meant that. Put it in the corner. No keepers getting that, regardless of who they are. So full credit to them. To them. They gave us a game in the second half. But yeah, it was a good win. A massive 3 points at a tough ground, and a resurgent Aston Villa. So credit all round to the players.
Do you think, Amy, that this Guardiola was saying, before the game, he had basically 15 fit players. Do you think in that second half, because we had that 2-0 lead, or we did when the second half kicked off, that a lot of the players were just trying to conserve a little bit, that, I can't get injured because I'm needed for the weekend. It's a feeling I got a little bit. I never felt that we were in a lot of danger. We just took our foot off the gas a little bit because we were concerned about injuries. Is that what you saw, or?
Yeah, I think so. Because realistically, we couldn't have afforded to have anyone else that's a first team or bench player injured. But I do think a match like that's the type that wins you the league. Like with that many players out, and Villa had won 2 on the bounce, new manager, and I don't even know how many players we had out. But I think to go away as well and win there, I think that's a big result for us, because I think it could have quite easily been a draw.
Yeah, I think me and Amy were both saying on our group chat that we were nervous about that game. Yeah. That because Pep is so tactically astute, and he wouldn't have known how Gerrard was going to set up. That's his third game, and I think he just second guessing. So to come out like we did and just dominate, certainly for the first 45 minutes, was awesome. And to Amy's point, that's what wins you games. That's what wins you trophies, hopefully. So I'm going to go to Amy. Bernardo goal. How special was that?
Oh, it was incredible. It's just mad how in 10 seconds, because when I think it was Cancelo and Mahrez, was it, on the edge of our box, I was there like getting a bit worried, like, oh, they could score from this if they lose this, because it just looked like they were holding on to it for too long. And then the ball, I think it was Fernandinho to Gabby, I think it was. And then when you saw that it was 2-1, I don't know where Villa's defence was, but I mean, they committed way too many forward, but you can't take anything away from that. And I think City tweeted saying, "That's our goal of the month done." And obviously, it was only the first, but I think you can't top that, can you? Really, like that technique on the volley over the keeper. It was incredible.
Yeah,
absolutely incredible.
A handful of players in the world who can pull definitely. That off. A handful of players. So, Dan, what are our thoughts on Bernardo this season? I mean, just not that goal, but just the way he has been. We thought he was going to AC Milan, 3 months ago, and now look at him. He's basically our player of the season so far.
Hands down, I think he's already won it, regardless of whoever scores the goals now, whoever does the best defending now. He's got it hands down. He is turned some games on their head for us so far this season. It was tricky going in, coming out of this summer with that breakdown to AC Milan. Obviously, it was on the cards that never came into fruition and never put a bid in, but there was interest. And I'm glad, obviously, he didn't due to how he's playing now, but at the same time, he would have been lost as a player going there. I know AC Milan are resurgent themselves now. I think they're top of Serie A, but that league is nothing compared to the Premier League, not even a pinch of salt close to it. And the fact that Bernardo is playing this well, facing the teams he's faced away from home, well, most of our games against the top teams, and especially teams with stadiums and fan bases like Villa as well. It's not an easy place to go and play. And he takes it in his stride. I was messaging my stepdad, who's a massive City fan as well, during the game, and I was saying, when it was getting to squeaky bum time, I was like, just pass the ball to Bernardo. He hasn't lost the ball all night. And it is so rare that you come across a player where you can trust wholeheartedly, no matter what time of the game he gets the ball, you can feel comfortable just as long as he's got the ball at his feet. And such a joy, and he's living up to the silver name, isn't he?
He's just, I'm going to make a very, very big call here, but hear me out. I think Bernardo Silva is a potential future Ballon d'Or winner. And here's why. He's got such an intelligent football brain. And right now, how old is he? Like 27?
27, 28, yeah.
Ish. He's got all this energy and he's all over the pitch right now. He's everywhere and he covers it and he's fantastic. Can you imagine when he changes his game up a little bit and he doesn't have to have that energy of running around the field too much, and he's in that central position like KDB is now and pulling the strings and moving that ball away? Like I can only see Silva getting better as he gets older. And when he slows down a little bit and you've got the Fodens and the Palmers and whoever else doing the running, and he can just sit back and pull those strings. He reminds me a little bit of Pirlo, as in just so graceful and just going to be able to ping that ball wherever, be in the right place at the right time. In my opinion, Manchester City should do everything to tie him down to a contract, because what I see right now is if he gets to 30, 31, and then we go, no, he's too old now, let's sell him. Like a Monaco or a Borussia Dortmund or whoever it might be, who we would go to, I think they've got a player for 4 or 5 years because he keeps himself so fit. Who's coming up right now? You know, you've got Mbappe, obviously, and we've obviously got Foden ourselves, but who's going to be that next generation of wonderful players who are going to win that Ballon d'Or? So you heard it here first, MIBers. That is my take.
Well, I tell you what, considering you're not a journalist, you're already a step above Tom Young. If anybody wonders what I'm referring to, Tom Young is our MIB resident journalist. He seems to think the next Ballon d'Or winner is Riyad Mahrez. I'm proud to his greater knowledge because he's seeing things I'm not seeing, and I see a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question as well, actually. You know, are we going to miss Mahrez? Really, thankfully for us, that's our only miss during the African Cup of Nations. You know, is that going to, if we've got the rest of our squad fit, are we going to miss Mahrez too much? Do you think in that January February window?
I'll let him go first because I'm already disagreeing with us. So.
To be fair, I'm a bit biased against Mahrez genuinely since that Liverpool penalty miss, because it made me flip the table in the pub and I spilled all the pints.
Let it go.
But no, I don't think I think we've got plenty of players to cover him, to be honest. Like, I think, don't get me wrong, he's a very good player. Like, even I'll say that. But I think with Sterling, if he plays anything like he did against Villa, I think if it weren't for that Bernardo goal, he'd have got man of the match. He should have got man of the match. But you can't really take it away from Bernardo after that. But I think with Foden, Grealish, Sterling, Gabby on the wing, I think we'll miss him tremendously, to be honest.
Yeah.
I just, I agree with that point. I think we've got plenty of players to cover. I just think he adds. I think he gets a little bit too much stick because of that Liverpool penalty miss. I speak to a lot of fans, and some people just don't like him because there's a bit of a. It's either one-dimensional Mahrez or cock-up Mahrez. You always know what he's going to do, or it doesn't come off. But he just adds a little bit of flair. He's not quick, but he knows how to place the ball. And some of the crosses he's puts in are good. We just haven't got somebody there to finish him off half the time. And it does come down to, I reckon, if we have a little bit of an injury crisis like we had against the Villa game, you know, Kevin De Bruyne is not firing in all cylinders when he is fit. Torres is out, until Feb now, is it? I think he's been pushed back to.
That's if he ever plays for us again.
Well, that's a possibility. And Grealish is sort of in and out. Sterling, he's had a good couple of games. I'm not hanging my hat on him being fully back to form just yet, but he's certainly striding towards it. And Gabby's unplayable at the moment. That lad, his game's just stepped up. But I do think there'll come a game or two where we're missing a Mahrez type player.
Yeah. He is.
I mean, we're talking about Ballon d'Or winner here, so.
Yeah, and we've said this before about Mahrez. He seems to be definitely play his more natural game in the Champions League. He's got that continental style which matches that, and it's no wonder that pretty much he's the first name on the team sheet. For every Champions League game. I get it. I will say with Mahrez as well, for me, that he is the best controller of the ball at Manchester City. Some of the passes that come in to him, and he just controls it on a sixpence. It's just absolutely incredible. His
I think him and Foden as well. I'd put them pretty.
Agreed. Yeah.
Decent.
So I mean, stay injury free. Hopefully, this is going to have more of an impact on Liverpool, down the road, because they Mane and Salah, and I know Liverpool are already talking to, their respective countries to see, how quickly they can get them back or whatever. But I think Tom Young had forgotten that Mo Salah was playing in the African Cup of Nations when he said that Mahrez would be the best player at the tournament. I don't know. Might want to remind you what.
It could be a blessing in disguise, this tournament, with Liverpool's losing Mane and Salah. I mean, fair enough, Jota's coming in well, but they haven't really got much cover for either of them, and that's what it comes down to. I think that's why we're so good. We have depth. As much as we've had injuries recently, where we've had to have two goalkeepers on the bench for about 5 or 6 games in a run now, but
yeah,
could be our time. Chelsea play West Ham at the weekends, Liverpool away at Wolves. Could be our time to start knocking a few points forward.
Surely Chelsea have got. I've never seen a team apart from United in past years get so lucky every single week. It's winding me up. They should never have beat Watford in a million years.
And it's actually refreshing for a manager to be Tuchel to actually be honest about that and say that, geez, we were lucky. We didn't deserve anything out of that game. And you usually see your manager really defending your players and we took our chances or whatever. He's been very frank and honest and said, we're not playing at 100%, but we're still getting the wins. So I have some.
It's quite refreshing that. It's quite refreshing considering we've had to put with Klopp blaming the bloody wind after time, and I'm waiting for him to say there's a car outside blocking the entrance that make the players had to walk around it, so they've lost a bit of energy. I'm waiting for that excuse. But yeah, it's quite refreshing to have an opposition manager that he understands, he respects teams, he's not making excuses, and as much as we're supposed to dislike him because it's Chelsea, it is refreshing to see that we're in a title race with actually a humble man at the helm of an opposition team. So it's quite refreshing.
Yeah,
I still want to keep this big out of them. So.
Yeah, they don't scare me enough with their performances. I just can't see them keeping this up for another 5 months, and they've got to come to us as well, and I think we'll have them easily. So they just don't scare me enough. I think it will come down to more us and Liverpool again. I think Chelsea, come February, March, will start to drop the points in the games like against Watford.
And that's good. I completely agree with that. And I think that's where I meant the Africa Cup of Nations will come into play, because that means Liverpool will start dropping some points of the goals disappearing. So right now we are in. I mean, don't we face all the top teams at home now?
Yeah,
I think
we've
we've
got
played them all away. haven't we?
we've played United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham,
Yeah.
Leicester. We've played them all away, so yeah.
All the way.
If we don't, I don't want to put it already. We're only I don't want to turn into a bloody dipper and start going, oh, we've won it already. But we've got to give it a shun. All the cards are on our table right now. We've got to give it a good shun. If we don't, we've missed a trick.
Yeah. Well, I've got more good news for you as well. If you didn't listen in to the press conference this morning with Pep, we are injury free apart from Torres, who's long term, as Dan's already pointed out. We have got a full squad going into tomorrow's game against Watford.
Carson's going to be in goal.
So this is huge news for us. That I miss seeing Foden. I think this could be a very, very good game for us tomorrow. I know some of these players are only just coming back from injury. I don't expect the De Bruyne's, etc., to maybe start, but this is really good news that hopefully coming into, we've got another 7 games in December. 7. It's ridiculous. We need a fit squad. Everyone's playing well, particularly our Bernardo's, etc. So yeah. What do we think tomorrow? In that knowledge, we have a full squad. Who's going to play, and what's the score going to be?
Well, we have Vicarage Road.
Yeah.
We're away now. So a critic actually highlighted, and I agree, that Watford put in such a huge performance with a lot of energy against Chelsea. That are they going to be able to do that 3 days later again against the reigning champions? And I kind of tend to agree with that they might have run themselves into the ground so much. The way that we ping and pass the ball around, it might be a bit too much for Watford tomorrow.
But at the same time, I can see that as a hindrance to us. Look at Southampton a couple of years ago. They scored that 1 goal and they just sat back. I mean, I'm not saying Watford's defence, the next great AC Milan defence with Maldini at the back or anything like that, but it's a tough ground to go to at the best of times. I hope Ranieri wants to take the game to City, because I think the 2 different types of Watford, if they come at us, I think we'll walk all over them. I think, going back to what Amy said, Chelsea got very lucky winning that. City won't need luck. If Watford come out at us the same way they did against Chelsea, I think we'd win 5-6-0 in that case. But if Watford sit back, I'm going the Dave Roberts. I'm going with a Dave Roberts scoreline. I'm going for a draw if they sit back.
Oh my gosh. All right, Amy.
You're forgetting the goalkeeper is a top goalkeeper for his age as well.
Is it? Is he not injured?
It's Foster, isn't it?
I think he's injured, isn't he?
Oh, is he?
I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But I thought him and Sarr were in. I might be wrong.
Oh, if he is, then it's 6-7-0.
I probably dreamt that. Probably not. Not true, but I think it's impossible to predict what's going to, because we normally, if it weren't for how they've been performing recently, like thrashing United, should have gotten a win against Chelsea, thrashing Everton, like if it weren't for that, I'd say 6-7-0 like we normally do against them, like pretty standard. But I think we're either going to absolutely batter them or it'll be a draw. I don't think there's going to be an in-between.
2 for 2, Dave. 3 for 3.
See, whenever I kind of say, oh, well, we're going to batter them, we do well. Whenever I say, oh, it's going to be a draw and I'm negative, we tend to win. So maybe I'm going to have to do a Tom today and say I'm not doing a prediction. How's that? I'm just going to say no prediction today and leave it like that.
Secretly, I'll say 1-1.
I will say we should be able to, with all the players that we've got back, we should be able to pass them to death. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, he didn't play against Chelsea, and he wasn't on the bench, Foster.
Yeah,
right. That's a big positive for us then, because he is a top goalkeeper.
But he was doubtful against Chelsea.
Yeah.
So he might be all right.
So here's a question for you. How did Zinchenko do for you guys the other night? Like he's played a few minutes this season in the Premier League, and that's it. It definitely seemed like a stopgap. That we had him in the team the other night, but I don't want to lose Zinchenko. There's something about him that he seems to love Manchester City. He doesn't want to leave. He's captain of the Ukraine already. He's a good player, but he's obviously not a pet favourite. How do you guys think he played the other night?
Wanna go first?
Yeah.
I don't really know where to begin with him personally, because last season, out of all of us, I was having arguments with Tom Brunt on a couple of podcasts saying he's going to play, he's going to start a lot of games, and everyone was like, nah, he's not doing it. And I was adamant, and he did, because he was such a vital player for us last season. I think he went under the radar, some of the performances he did, and some of the coming into some of the games that he had to as well. He did a great service to us. I don't feel the same way this season. I think he comes into the team and we look a bit, not weaker, but we lack a little bit of that City flair this season. I don't know if that's just because we're so used to having Walker and Cancelo, but I mean, Cancelo's been out of this world at left back so far this season. I don't think there's a better left back at the moment. You can't get anywhere close to him. So I think that's hindered him slightly, Zinchenko. But I don't know if Pep's just maybe going to try and weave him into midfield a little bit like he's done on a couple of occasions so far this season. But he doesn't look like he can hack it like he used to when he used to play in midfield before his time for City, of course. It remains to be seen. I'm hopeful he stays because he's a vital utility player, but no player wants to be a utility player.
No. What do you think, Amy? It's like what? I mean, you've seen him live. You've seen him at Etihad, etc. And the times that he has played this season. What do you think? Is he a keeper or?
I've always been quite a big fan of his, to be honest. But I don't know if it's him or Pep that doesn't know where he wants to play, because I think he prefers playing midfield, but obviously we don't really have a lot of room for him to play midfield. And then at left back, obviously you can't drop Cancelo. Like, that's not really an option right now.
Mm-hmm.
The only way he'd get in the team is if Walker was dropped realistically and Cancelo moved out to the right. But as much as I love him, I don't think he's better than either of our other two fullbacks. I would want him to stay because I think with like in December with so many fixtures, like the smaller games, I think it would be better to rest Walker or Cancelo and bring him in. But obviously, yeah, as you said, he's not going to want to sit on the bench and just fill in against Norwich, is he? So
no, but I mean, isn't that an interesting thing though? That I thought was it 16 million Wolves offered, and I think they were offering in the moon really. That come here, you'll be club captain. We're in the Premiership. We've got a good board. Good funds behind us. I know it's Wolves, but
hey, they signed Johnny.
Yeah,
they signed Johnny because they didn't get him, and Johnny's been there. God, it still sounds weird calling him that. I don't know why. I'm such a big kid when I say his name when Wolves are playing, but he's played nearly every game for Wolves. So I think them promises they were realistic and legit.
Yeah, and he turned it all down.
His place.
Yeah,
but for some reason this season, I know he's had a little bit of an injury at the beginning of the season, but I just don't see him becoming too much of part of the team. I mean, he's even got. I hope Pep would choose him ahead of him, but he's even got Ake and Laporte to sort of deal with at left back because those two players can play there. So I hope he turns it. Not that he has to turn anything around. It's not had a bad game. He just hasn't had enough minutes to prove he's still as Zinchenko of the past couple of seasons.
Yeah, I agree. Right. Well, final point. We mentioned him a couple of times today, but Torres, what is going on with this guy? Is this just all paper talk and social media talk that he wants out and he wants to go to Barcelona. I personally don't understand how that's even possible when they're 1.5 billion in debt. You know, so a City fan's just reading too much into this, and it's just a load of crap, or is there a bit of substance to the Torres potentially leaving in January? What do you think, Amy? Dan?
I think there probably is something in it. I don't know how Barca could afford him, because I've seen they're offering rumored to be offering Coutinho. Like if they offered Frankie de Jong, we might think about it more. But someone like Coutinho at his age, we're not going to want. I think because he's so young, he's come across a different country. I know lots of players do that, but being a big Spanish club, going back home effectively, I think for someone like him that he'd want that. So I think there probably is something behind it. I don't think he'll go in January. I don't think we'd let him go in January. I think if he was to go, it'd be summer. I don't want him to, personally, because I think in 5-6 years' time, I think he could be brilliant. Yeah, and obviously with no striker at the moment, he was sort of filling in that role a bit for us before he got injured. So I'd rather he didn't go. But if he did go, I think we shouldn't really be accepting less than 70 mil for him, because he's so young and he's not had much time to prove himself in the Premier League, but from what he has done, he's been brilliant. And then that might get some or all of the funds for Haaland, so it might not be all bad, but I'd rather keep him personally.
Yeah. What do you think, Dan?
Well, ball's in our court by two parts, really. I mean, the past two Spanish wingers we've had, one of them couldn't cross into the box to save his life, and the other one had a kid that was apparently going whiter by the day, so he had to move back. So, we've not had that to worry about. Torres is a good player and he hasn't got any kids. But I think there is a lot of truth in it, because it's a bit of a weird one to come out of the blue. I know he's been injured, but when a player's injured, normally the transfer talk is very minimal, and it's just about when they're going to come back. Barca seem quite fixated on him. They're going through a period now where they're going to be selling a lot of the top players. They're going to be wanting to get some young players in to have on for a long, long period. I mean, we're seeing that with Ansu Fati, Gavi, Pedri, all these young Spanish lads. And yes, he's going to go for a lot more than what we signed him for, hopefully. It's about time we started selling players for their actual worth. I know, Dave, you're a big admirer of City's transfer selling policies over the years. Yeah. But I hope we don't lose him, because I think he's got a big future. But if there wasn't any truth in it, I would have expected to see something on social media, or at least a comment from him saying, I'm happy where I am, I'm going to stay at my place and I'll move to Barca. Because he said in the past he wants to go to Barcelona at some point in his career, but he's also said the same thing about wanting to go back to Valencia. Yeah. Valencia. But he said he wants to go to Barcelona at some point in his career also. Too soon for me. Barcelona a rebuild. Maybe that's why he wants to go, but I think he'll have a better career staying at City, learning off Pep while Pep's still here, learning off the other players that City have currently got. And I mean, 2 or 3 seasons' time, Kev's going to be running out of energy. Mahrez is probably going to be gone. Sterling, more than likely, will probably be gone. He's got a great chance of being one of City's long-term first-choice players, and then maybe go back to Valencia or maybe Barca. But I don't think he will move. But it doesn't surprise me that I think there's some truth in there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with everything you both said. I kind of hope it's not true, really. I do want him to stay. It's surprising when a player who's really only just arrived and is still finding his feet, pardon the pun, is kind of looking to go or already. I hope he stays, because there's, number one, I don't think we get a good deal out of it. You know, we always have to bear in mind that I know they work for Manchester City, but they're all Barcelona boys who are in charge of our club. Our chief executive, our transfer guy, they're all Barca boys, all of them. So, and I think there's that little bit, we want to help them out a little bit. Well, no, we still want the best business deal that we can. And for me, unless they're willing to give us Pedri or Fati or Gabby in swap, which they're not, because if you look at their ludicrous buyout clauses I think Pedri's is over $1 billion, which is just ludicrous. Unless they're trying to give us one of those three players, or De Jong, to Amy's point, I don't think I would be really, really interested. And then, as Amy said, how are they going to pull 60, 70, 80 million, which is what we want, out from the bank? If this was in England, and I've said on our group chat several times now, they would have been banned. They would have been out of the league. This is Derby. This is Bury all over again. They wouldn't have been allowed to get away with it over here.
Going back to what Amy was referring to with Frankie de Jong, that's where my little bit of truth comes into it, that I believe is a little bit of truth, because Frankie de Jong's been linked with City quite a lot recently. Torres wants to go to Barcelona. We're going to need a replacement for Fernandinho and Gundogan, as we were referring to earlier with Declan Rice. If Declan Rice is more likely targets either a United in a rebuild or a Chelsea, we're going to have to look for that next big midfielder, and it most likely will be Frankie de Jong. That's the way
How
I
much
think
did they pay for him from Ajax? Was it like 50, 60 they paid-ish?
God knows, it was ridiculous money for his age still, but
I can't remember. I just have this sneaky feeling if we do it, we might end up getting Dembele. And that guy has played about 14 games in 4 years for Barca. He's always injured. He's always injured. He might be absolutely fantastic when you can get him out on the pitch, but it's a couple of times a season. And that's my concern. That are we almost going to do Barcelona a favour? And yeah, you can have one of our most promising players, and we'll take one of your crop players in exchange. I think that's the little fear that I have.
But that's realistic. It's believable.
Yeah.
But we shall see.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is through everything. Dan, I know that you wanted to do a little message about Arthur as well, so I'm going to give you the floor if that's okay.
I've got two more things just to add before that.
Yeah.
We'll leave that because I think that's a thing to end on. It needs to. But has anyone seen Frank Lampard's overlap with Gary Neville?
I saw the 20 quick fire questions. I saw that bit, but not the major interview.
He's done an overlap, just a quick one to add on. It's not a major news story or anything like that, but even Frank Lampard said he was astonished by the level of professionalism at City when he left Chelsea and came to us for the season. He said he couldn't believe the project that was going on. He couldn't believe how switched on and committed everyone was. And that's coming from Frank Lampard, one of the Premier League's greatest ever players. I think that needed a good mention because not many people give City a good review, especially former players and opposition players at best of times. So I just want to give that out. And also, I just want to get both of yours opinions. I put a post out on the Facebook page yesterday saying how little is being mentioned about how City are actually doing this season in relation to everyone last season. Last season, we pretty much dominated the league as a canter, but we still played a City way, our City way. Outstanding football, great passing, great finishing, great defending. Well, teams were saying injuries are the reason we lacked, and teams weren't firing under such as Lampard and what have you, and United are apparently on the rise, getting to second. Look with that, where are you now? But City have come into this season and they're challenging Liverpool and Chelsea, who have got however much Lukaku cost. They've got Werner, they've got outstanding attacking midfielders, they've got great defence. Liverpool have got arguably one of the greatest front three the Premier League's ever seen, as well as a great back four. City haven't got a striker. City are struggling with injuries. City have been playing the same way for 2 flipping seasons straight, with playing God knows how many games because we've been involved in that many, and yet we're still challenging them to, and we sit a point off the top, running into a great set of fixtures. I think not enough has been said about how great this club is being run at the moment, especially the background, the fitness staff. I mentioned the groundsman at the game. Everyone right now at City is switched on to the highest level, and I don't think enough's been said about it.
Yeah, I think especially with like the injuries,
Mm.
I feel like if that was Chelsea or Liverpool, it would be like all over the paper how big a win it was. Da, 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 da. And when Liverpool, I hope my boyfriend doesn't hear this, but when Liverpool had all those injuries,
Scream it.
when they had all the, I know they were longer term and what have you, but like De Bruyne's not been fully fit realistically all season. Foden hasn't for that long either. And no one seems to talk about it. Like it was all that was talked about when Van Dijk, that's all that was ever meant. Like if they lost, it was like, oh, Van Dijk's injured.
Yeah.
And if we lose, it's not, oh, Kevin's injured. It's, oh, you had a poor game, you deserve to lose. So.
And that rings true with what Pep said. Pep said during an emergency, I can't count the amount of newspapers and articles that are popping up saying, "Oh, he's over exaggerating the depth in his squad." It can't be true, and it was. We had definitely players to put out.
Well, yeah, I think what was it? Was it against Villa when Carson and Stefan were the only players over 21 on our bench? I think.
Yeah.
Oh, and Grealish, sorry, but apart from those three.
It's ridiculous, and we were laughed at when he said that. But it's amazing how true it is, and yet we still won a tough game against Villa, and that's what I mean. Not enough is being said about how we're doing this season, considering everything in play. But hey, we're City. We'll happily go under the radar. It's coming home again. Probably the worst choice of words to use, especially after the summer. But you get my gist.
Yeah, I agree. I think all I would add to that is I think you can see such a togetherness with this team that we have, and it's so nice to see. I think they're pissed off from the Champions League final. I really do, and I think they've got the bit between the teeth now, and they're gonna not necessarily go on and win the Champions League, but just put in performance after performance, and we're not going to let this happen. And I love that. I love seeing that in a team where they're just all fighting for the shirt. That's all we want. That's why, for me, as you know, Dan, that Uwe Rosler will and always be my favourite ever player, because he would have died for that shirt. He played like a fan, and that's all we want is we want our team in blue to play like they're a fan. That's why Vincent Kompany is so popular. So long may it continue.
Hands down.
Dan, I'm going to give you the floor. I know you want to talk a couple of minutes, so it's all over to you.
Yeah, it's a bit of a sidetrack, Blues, but I think it's probably more prevalent than ever to highlight how much a club is willing to do anything for its fans. And I'm referring to Birmingham City. I'm sure a lot of you will have seen, especially us three here, we've been in touch with it. But it's regarding young Arthur Hughes, who obviously sadly died last year in June. 6 years old, died at the hands of two monstrous people that deserve everything that's coming their way. But I'm not going to bother with them because they're not even worth a speck of dust on this planet. But it's a big shout out to Birmingham City Football Club. Millwall are thrown into that one as well, and Cardiff will be thrown into that one as well. With what I'm going to say, Birmingham and Millwall clubs and supporters trust have both agreed that they're going to all in the stadium at the weekend at Millwall stand up and give Arthur the clap he deserves at the 6th minute to which was his age, only 6 years old, which I think is great because both of them clubs, the fans do get a bit of a reputation for being in hard cases, but to stand united and clap for that little boy, that shows everything about what a football club is this day and age, especially with everything going on in the world. But also a further shout out to Birmingham in the next home game. They're going to do a series of tributes for young Arthur, and also they're going to lay 2 bricks into the stadium as part of the stadium to be there forever, saluting his memory and just to that it's hard to put into words. I mean, Dave, Amy, if you ever have kids, I'm only a recent father, but I know Dave's had 2 kids that have gone past the age of 6, and for any parent out there to even want to not obviously not want to have the thought, but just that ringing true, I think it hits everybody. And the fact that a football club, I mean, he's a big Birmingham City supporter, young Arthur was, and it hits a lot of parents hard reading these stories. So it's just nice that a football club like Birmingham are doing that to in memory of one of their own. And I think every supporter, including myself, I don't care where I am, I'm going to be clapping at the 6 minute on 6 minutes past 3 for that young lad. I just think they deserve a big shout out.
I couldn't agree more, Dan, and very, very, very nicely said. All right, well, it's on to another big weekend. They always are, aren't they? So thanks for everything today, guys. I think we kind of netted out that we all think it's going to be a draw tomorrow. So come on, Blues.
No. I'm going for a win. I'm not settling with you telling me it's going to be a draw. I'm going for a 4-0 win. Sod that.
I was just about to say 4-0.
All right, 4-0.
I'll go 5. Yeah, I'll go 5 instead.
4-0, and I'm on the fence. We'll leave it there.
You on the fence?
Okay, thanks for your time, guys. Talk again soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye.